Hey there, it's Chris, and welcome back to the Spartan Ultra Training Program, where today's session is going to be all about the barbed wire and bungee crawls, which, if you followed my overhead project video, you've seen I've alluded to the fact that the vast majority of the obstacles on the course, on any kind of Spartan course, are going to be done within like 15 to 30 seconds or less. Going over like 6, 7, 8 foot walls, doing any of the overhead stuff, doing a lot of like the hurdles and stuff like that. A lot of these elements are going to be done really, really quick, so you get time saves. You're only going to save minimal amount of time during those, so it's better to do those safely. Barbed wire crawl falls under a different echelon, because basically there are 3 obstacles on the course which are actually legitimate time sinks. One being the bucket carry, one being a sandbag carry, and the barbed wire is usually now the 3rd longest element on the course. And if you stay to the end of this video, I will show you that you can do this 2 to 3 times faster than you've probably ever thought possible to do this, that particular element. So, be worth sticking around for that. However, before we get there, we need to go over a couple slight techniques and a couple things you should be aware of when doing the crawl, as we see here. So first thing, according to the rules, the only thing you need to do is get from one end of the course to the other end of the course, going under these guys. And that's it. Especially on the bungee crawl, if you're going under, you can lift this thing, you can lift it around, go up and over. This is 100% legal. You can do that. You can touch this. It's not the floor is lava kind of thing. That said, there's no invisible plane that goes over top of this. There's no mesh on top of this. If you come down, you go under, you can stand up and do whatever you want down here, just as long as you go under these barbs. Now, why does that make a difference? Because if I take the camera real quick here, and we go around, because the way these guys are set up, now I have my own kind of little setup down here, is rather than have a line that goes across, a line that goes across, a line that goes across, these are set up with one single line. Starts from one, comes to the next, goes down there, comes to the next, goes down, it zigzags across. So anywhere where you have a post, again, in this particular setup, I have 5 feet between these posts. There's a 5-foot span between the barbs. If you come to the middle, we now have a 2.5-foot span between the barbs. Go to the far end, you have another 5-foot span between the barbs down there. So if you want to go through this more efficiently, one of the main aspects we're going to use is you try to hug the sides of these. There's no reason to go under with a 2.5-foot span and go under 2 barbs in the middle when you can do the equivalency of 1 barb by doing these kind of here, this acts as 1 barb here. So just kind of stay towards as long as you stay towards an end, I'm going under 2, but it's the same as going under 1 if we were to go in the middle here. So stay towards the edges, you're gonna save a lot of energy that way. Also, main thing you're gonna wanna do is if you have one of these side pouches, turn it around. Your bottle top here will absolutely connect your kind of pull on these things and drag it through and be a bother. So when you get in, turn your back flask around. I haven't really had much issue with the vest, but the back flask will always catch, because if you're down here, you can see that's just a big hook that's gonna hook onto one of these guys. No good comes from that. So now what I'm gonna do is before we go over techniques, one more thing in terms of where your hands are gonna be. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick up 2 images, one from earlier in my racing career and one from quite a bit later on. You're gonna see the difference of that. So here we go. So now if you're looking at the image of me in yellow on the side there is from early on, and you see my hands are on the ground, they are muddy as heck. You go to the other image of me in the green on the side, and you can see that, well, it's a little better. We're not putting our hands on the ground. All right, we back in here. Okay, we're back in our stuff again. So we never want to put our hands on the ground. Last thing we ever want to do is put our hands going down, because all that's going to do is make our hands muddy. It's going to make them dirty. It's going to make them wet, and it's going to be harder to then grip whatever obstacles coming up next, whether it's like a rope thing from rope climb or like Hercules thing, whether it's an overhead obstacle or like pipes going across. It's going to make it a lot harder to grip those types of things. So whenever we do anything, we always want to have the back of our hand down or our forearm down going through. Save the hands. It's worth it. Save the hands on that front. That said, This is also one of the obstacles that will change depending on who sets this up. An 8-foot wall is always going to be an 8-foot wall. You look at like a beater is always going to be beater. Monkey bars are always going to be, a hurdle is always going to be a hurdle. Most of these obstacles are always going to be what they're going to be. The barbed wire crawl and bungee crawl will change depending on who sets it up, because this can be higher or lower, and that's going to depend, that will change how we're going to tackle going through this. As I said, right now this is set up to be about 2 feet off the ground. It's kind of in the little bit of a higher range of what you can see it being, and what you're going to see a number of people. Let me go back over here so you can kind of hopefully get the view going through. Is again, when you're higher, you take it, and I can take it off. We can just kind of do a nice little crawl through. And we can do that very, very quickly. Yeah, when we're high off the ground, we can crawl really quickly with no problem whatsoever. Another way we can go about that is, if you have the constitution for it, is you can take it on the ground and you can roll. That works too. Only problem with that is, the very first race I did, I kind of rolled the entire way and I almost threw up afterwards. So I tend to not do that very often. I might do it for 1 or 2 barbs, but that's about it. But that kind of works if the barbs are lower to the ground than otherwise would. So I'm gonna disappear real quick, snap my fingers, come back. I'm gonna lower these down, show you how to do it if we have a lower barb height, how we can go and make this go about even easier. Hang tight. Okay, and we're back. So I've gone ahead and I've now lowered this from roughly like 2 feet to 26 inches before. I've now lowered this roughly between 16 to 18 inches down. 6 inches makes a difference, because now we really do need to take into account an actual plan to go through this, because kind of bear crawling it is going to be, and doing like the baby crawl is going to be a lot harder to go through it now. So once again, I'm going to move this to the front, and you're going to see I have to get lower, and I'm going much slower. You have to go much, much slower to get through this situation. The lower this gets, the slower it's going to be to go through this. Now, one way to look at it, again, we are still trying to stay to the side as much as possible, so we have to go through, so we can order 2 at once rather than 1 every 2 feet there. But think of your body like this cap here, this box top. You have your shoulders up top, your waist on the bottom. This is what your body kind of looks like. And now if you're trying to go through traditionally straight under, your back can only bend so far in here. So basically you're trying to get this shape to go under. It's usually about 3 feet by 1 foot wide. What we want to do instead, the lower this gets, is it starts being worth, rather than go under straight, to turn ourselves to the side and go under this way, go under sideways. Because what that's going to mean is we have less surface area of us. We need to go underneath this barb as we go. So rather than coming through like this, what I'm now going to do is go sideways. And it's much easier that way. And that becomes much easier to go through sideways than it is to go through straight. At the same time, if you ever want to take a break, let's say I've gone through 2 here and I want to take a break, I can now just sit up. I'm fine. I can catch breath. I can then go back down and do another couple. And that's that. You will find on the course, not many people go sideways, but it is significantly faster. If you really want to book it, you can book it so much faster going sideways than straight through. That said, it'll probably take about twice the amount of effort going sideways as opposed to straight. So if the barbs are high, usually I'm going to go through straight through and just kind of take a nice, easier approach. The lower these barbs get, depending who sets them, if it's really, really low like they are right here, I will tend to go sideways instead, because I'll take twice the effort going through, but it might save 3 times the time it takes to go through this as opposed to the other. So depending how this is set is going to change how I go through this. And just as kind of a wrap up on that, I'm going to fast forward here to a video from a race from 20, whatever it was, of me just kind of going through, and you can see just how much faster it is going sideways under than going straight. It's great. It's awesome. You are Superman going through this thing. Downside is you do need to be careful of who's in front of you. You can run into things, and especially on the first lap of an ultra, you might be used to going through like you have nice fields like this down here. Well, if you've never done an ultra before, if this is your first one, barbed-wire crawl is going to be a little different than you ever experienced, because when you have this nice clearing lane, going sideways is great because you need to take up a lot of space. The first lap on an ultra, generally speaking, we're the ones blazing the trail. This may not be in a big field. This might be in a field of like 1 foot, 2 foot tall grasses coming all the way up, and we are the ones who push the grasses down for everyone else to go through. So the first lap going sideways may not be as easy, depending on the situation, because we're the ones who have to pat down everything as we go. So you might have a little kind of path following you. But no, just watch this video, see how it goes. It's just that easy. And that's really all I have on this. Again, takeaway, never put your hand on the ground and just kind of feel your way through. If things are going low, go sideways, go under. If things are high, you can just go straight through. The idea is to find a way to save the energy going through either way. And that's all we really have on that one. So, yep, until then, and until next time, enjoy.
Until then, though, we're just going to keep this thing moving good. Be sure to also check out the locker house. I already had to, unfortunately, let someone know I have their phone. It's okay.